Hello and welcome to the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us with Heidi Nelson, Maple Grove City Administrator. Welcome again to the program.
Thank you.
We've got the February 20th council meeting to talk about a 1 hour in length, and a number of things coming up in the city in the next month or so. Many at the community center, so get your calendars out later. Let's begin by talking about who wasn't at the meeting. The mayor was not at the meeting, but for a good reason. Tell us a little bit about the mayor's travels.
Yeah, so the mayor was part of a group that traveled to Japan in this past week with the Greater MSP, which is kind of the Regional Economic Development Organization here in the metro area, as well as staff from DEED, the Department of Employment and Economic Development for the state. They went over to visit with representatives of Sawai Pharmaceuticals. Sawai Pharmaceuticals recently acquired Upshur Smith, which of course is a significant business here in Maple Grove. This is the first acquisition in the United States for Sawai Pharmaceuticals, and so I think the state had a great interest in doing some outreach with them, build some relationships there. Certainly first and foremost interested in keeping that investment here in the state and here in Maple Grove, but two, given that this is kind of their first acquisition in the U.S. market and it looks like they have expansion plans, just wanting to make sure that they understand that there's opportunities here in Maple Grove for them to do that, and the state's certainly interested in that as well. So great kind of public relations trip for the city to get over there and do that visit, and kind of a quick trip out on Monday, back on Thursday.
Right.
So little blistering travel there, but hopefully some good relationships were formed and introductions made, and we'll see what comes of that.
Very good.
Yeah.
So even without the mayor, the meeting went on and there were some great items on the agenda. The first is a really neat one. Talk about an employee who has been with Maple Grove since about the start of Maple Grove. Tell us about Jim Sadler.
Yeah, Jim came with the dirt, I think. So 41 years of service to the city, and it's pretty remarkable. So, and he started working with the city as a firefighter, back in those early days, and then has been with our Public Works Department and the Utilities Division for many, many years. So Jim leaves huge shoes to fill, of course, and he will be missed, but he's looking forward to his retirement. He does a lot of work with cattle, showing them and whatnot, and so he's out across the Midwest hauling his cattle around, showing them, and so that's kind of a fun hobby to have in his retirement. And so we will have a celebration for Jim here at the end of the month, or at the end of March, but really wish him all the best and thank him for his service.
You bet. Congratulations to Jim. So that was one item pulled from the consent agenda. There were two others that have to do with canine units. Tell us about the canine coming to Maple Grove.
Yeah, so everybody's getting really excited for Kalo, of course, is our new canine's name, and he's going to be going off to canine school with our officer Keith Stewart here in the coming weeks. But the community is really stepping to the table here to support this effort for the city. So we wanted to recognize those contributions. So Chuck and Don's Pet Food, which of course is located here in Maple Grove. They donated dog food for Kalo for the life of his career here in Maple Grove, and of course we want to make sure that Kalo's in good health, and so they provide a very high quality product for Kalo during that time. So that's the value of that, about $1,400 annually. So we really are appreciative of Chuck and Don's and their manager Liz kind of helping bringing that to the table, and then the Maple Grove Lions Club contributed $5,000 to kind of offset some of the costs of the canine program. Chief Werner is going to be rolling out kind of a more formalized donation program, so if there's folks that are interested in getting involved in supporting the canine efforts in the community, there will be more information coming about that in the coming weeks.
All right. Let's move ahead to an item that was from the floor. Actually, there was a person from the public wanted to talk a little bit, and the topic was chickens. And we've heard about this in other cities, so give us a little background here. What was the discussion and where might it go next?
Yeah, so the topic is urban chickens, and so there's, then this has been a movement in a number of suburban communities throughout the metro area to allow chickens in backyards, and typically we do allow them today, but they are on kind of you have to have a larger lot, so more kind of in the RA, R1 districts where you have more acreage associated with your property. But this is really a movement to allow them kind of on a traditional suburban lot, so third acre, quarter acre type lot arrangements. All kinds of things around sustainability, growing your food locally, those kinds of initiatives that are in support of this. And so we've had this topic bubble up from time to time, and we've done some background on it and kind of understand what cities around us allow this and
Yep.
what ones don't, and kind of what their ordinance provisions are. Usually there's something to deal with, limiting the number of birds that you can have. You can't have roosters, that kind of a thing, because they want to make sure they're managing noise, setbacks for any type of, coop, that kind of thing, maintenance of those types of things. So we'll be looking at that. The council asked us to do a little background on that, and this topic will be coming back for some discussion. So
all right, so
more to come.
Chicken talk to come. Let's move ahead to a very special part of the meeting, and this was wonderful. There was a recent life-saving event at the Maple Grove Community Center, and the council took the opportunity to recognize the people involved in that. Give us a little background. Tell us about this great story and the people involved.
Yeah, so in late December, we had an incident at the Maple Grove Community Center in the pool where we had a near drowning of a 4-year-old little girl. Could have been a horrifically tragic event, but it turned out that there were people right there that stepped in, and one of those individuals was Graham Schultz, who is a resident of Maple Grove, but he also serves as a Carver County Community Service Officer. So had some training in CPR and those kinds of things, and in kind of emergency responder type traits. So between his quick actions, Graham's quick actions, and that of our lifeguards, Daniel Turnquist and Victoria Bleckerberg, stepped in, and life-saving measures were deployed, CPR and whatnot. And we were happy to say that Ava was at the meeting on Tuesday night with her parents, which was really wonderful. And I think anytime something like this happens and we have people from the community and our own staff that step forward and do the job, of course, that they're there to do, and we have a wonderful outcome, we want to make sure that we acknowledge that, and then to her family, say, geez, we're so glad you're here today, and that this turned out the way it did. So kind of a fun opportunity to say thank you to those who serve the community in that way, and celebrate certainly Ava being with us that evening.
You bet. Neat opportunity for some photos too, right in front of the council. So again, opportunity for the people that were involved, both from the life-saving end and the family, right there at the event. Let's move on to some of the public hearings at the event on the 20th. And again, we had the Arbor Lakes Business Park. We've talked about this many times, and this is the next step in the process. We need some sewer and water, good things under the ground, and the city works in that capacity.
We do. So this was a public hearing for the public improvements associated with the Arbor Lakes Business Park. So the components you mentioned, the extension of city water, sewer, stormwater infrastructure, as well as the roads that need to be constructed to serve the area. So we've done the feasibility study, kind of have a sense of what the improvements are, what the costs are, and now they'll get out to bid on that project, and those bids will be coming back probably in the next month to 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, and then anticipated that we'd get going on that construction of those public improvements in the spring. So this kind of kicks off that whole open bidding process for the city.
Just a question, and maybe it's not to this point yet, but as far as roadway connections of that new area, where there'll be a connection on Elm Creek Boulevard, that will be a signal light, I would guess, or there may already be one existing there. I'm trying to remember as I drive through what happens there and what happens over by Costco. Are we to that point yet?
Yeah, so there is an existing light there at Zachary. As you come south, where Fountains Drive comes out of the Fountains development there, kind of east of the bank and PetSmart and whatnot, that road will continue to the west and kind of traverse that land to the south of those buildings.
Got it.
And then the Revere connection will be put in kind of further to the east. There will be kind of a midway connection point as well that's called Commerce Drive that'll connect kind of between the development there. But so some of those road connections will be made as well.
All right, so we'll be seeing some work happen there in the not too distant future. Let's move on to community development. Then there was one item to discuss there. We talked about this a little bit too. Bobby and Steve's, some new gas station service coming to the city, but a little discussion here about some of the structure. Tell us about that.
So Bobby and Steve's is nearly completed in their construction. They're located just kind of east of the hospital up there in the Grove area. So Grove Service Station is what it'll be called, and Bobby and Steve's is the developer. They had in their original plan set that they submitted to the city some kind of architectural brackets on the canopy over the gas pumps. They've been working with Shell. Shell is going to be a Shell gas station, branded Shell. They had some concerns with some of the architectural elements. They have pretty, strict branding and image requirements, and so they had come to the city to ask to have those brackets removed from the plans, and so this is why this came back forward. It was approved on a 3-1 vote. Some concern about, it was a nice architectural element of the canopy. Gas canopies aren't necessarily the most attractive things in the world.
Very true.
And so the opportunity to dress them up is kind of nice, but I think the council understood kind of the shell requirements, and so this one got approved.
All right, so that's an item underway in community development. Let's talk about some coming up. Tell us about what Dick had to say.
Yeah, so we're underway with the environmental assessment worksheet for Park 81. Of course, this is the redevelopment of the Wells Concrete site there off of County Road 81. This is a Duke project that would take that site and redevelop it into about 900,000 square feet of industrial type use, a little bit heavier type industrial up there, which is, I think, fits in that area up off of County Road 81, a little more heavier uses up there. So because of the size of the development, and it's a redevelopment project, and some environmental work is required to be done on the front end. So that work is underway, and so we'll see future steps of that project coming forward to the council in the coming months.
Very good.
Yep.
And self-storage, the self-storage march continues on. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that project was in front of the council a few weeks back for concept review. It's just east of 494, north of Bass Lake Road, off of Sycamore there. It's kind of tucked back in between an extended stay hotel and a medical clinic. It's kind of a lot that you didn't even know was there for development. But it will back up to the interstate there, so there will be some visibility from the interstate. Some of the feedback at the concept stage was that the architecture was a little bland and kind of some big, long, straight walls of the building, and so the developer went back to the drawing table a bit and I think address some of those concerns, and so that project will be coming back through the process as well for development stage.
All right. And then final one, we've got a few new houses coming into town. This is a little infill lot. Tell us about that.
Yeah, kind of in the southwest corner of town. This is going to be called Copper Creek of Nottingham, so it's kind of in that Nottingham area down there off Zanzibar. 9-lot infill development, so single-family homes for that area.
All right, look for that coming. Ken Asheville gave an update of some of the things in engineering coming up, and one is corridors of commerce.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before as well, and kind of the process to apply. Now we're to that stage where they're looking at how many have applied, and tell us the numbers. There's a lot.
There is a lot, yeah. So we did submit for the Corridors of Commerce program for the Trunk Highway 610 completion project. As you may remember, it involves kind of that westbound 610 to eastbound 94 movement, as well as that connection out to County Road 30 to kind of complete that 610 project. We knew there'd be a lot of competition for this funding program, and of course there's about $400 million that the legislature provided during the last session that would be available over a 4-year period. Looks like they're going to try to award all the projects at one time, and then they'll just pace them out over that 4-year time frame. But 301 projects applied statewide. That's a lot of projects. The split is pretty much 50-50 to outstate to metro funds. So here in the metro area, about $200 million available for projects, and there were 68 projects submitted here in the metro area, 28 in Hennepin County alone. So the competition is going to be steep to be successful in winning support for a project through this process, but you have to be at the table in order to be considered, and so we've submitted our application, and so part of this process, there was an item on the agenda earlier to provide a resolution of support for the local government. So we'll continue to work through that and remain hopeful. I think the issue with the project not being completed and the need for some auxiliary lane extensions, we also included some auxiliary lane extensions into our application for this 610 completion project. I think it speaks to trying to address some of the congestion issues that have developed out there with the connection. So we'll remain hopeful.
Okay, and Met Council also involved in this process?
Yeah.
And that's more directed to 94 itself, is that correct?
Yeah, so Met Council also submitted a project to the Corridors program that really talked about auxiliary lane extensions from the Fish Lake split up through Maple Grove Parkway. And so there's a number of components here that all kind of start to fit together that address some of those capacity issues and some of the different movements that need to be made out on the corridor.
All right, we'll keep you up to date as it moves along. Final note from the meeting on the 20th, you had an update of some work, maybe with the city of Plymouth before the legislature. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we have been kind of in communication with the city of Plymouth to talk about road and bridge funding from the county, from Hennepin County. I think one of our concerns has been that when the county increased the sales tax by the additional quarter-cent here when the county's Transit Improvement Board was dissolved, this was kind of all around the funding of light rail issue. They took on that obligation. It really kind of put a pinch on funding that's available for road and bridge improvements in the county. So we're going to be working with the city of Plymouth to try to address some of that and see if we can't move some of that focus to road and bridge, particularly for those communities that aren't served by light rail. So we'll see where that goes during this legislative session, but we certainly need to, see some investment out here in our county road system as well.
Very good.
Yep.
So that's your recap from the meeting of the 20th. Now let's move ahead to some other items happening in the city. And again, a lot going on, some opportunities for you, maybe of a job or volunteer opportunity, and a number of events at the community center. Let's start with some opportunities. Explorers. Tell us about the Explorers and what they're up to lately.
Yeah, so recently the Maple Grove Fire Explorers worked with a local Cub Scout group, Den 532, to help them earn their first aid and emergency preparedness badges. And then the Explorers also took the Scouts through a hands-on practice of CPR skills. So training up some of our young Boy Scouts in town for that. So
always opportunities to join the Explorers as well, so a great way to connect there. Let's talk about city positions. We've talked about this before. There is a place on the city's website to look for job openings, and there's one there now. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so we're implementing kind of a management intern program this year. We are bringing on somebody in the city administrator's office to help us with various projects, and it's really a great way to kind of pay it forward to the career of city administration and provide opportunities for folks that are, we're looking for somebody that's in their graduate school program, public administration, or some similar program, to gain some experience. We get some good help, they get some good experience, and it ends up being a win-win. So first review of those applications is coming up here quick, so if you're interested in that, information available on our website.
All right, another way to get involved. We had the Fire Explorers earlier. How about the Police Reserves now? And this is an opportunity for people to get involved in the city. Great opportunity really for lots of age range as well. Tell us what this involves and when people should act by.
So Police Reserve Unit application deadline is March 1st, so kind of coming up here quick. It's just kind of a great opportunity to kind of get your foot, if you're thinking about a law enforcement career, this is a great way to kind of get your foot in the door and get some exposure to those issues. But also if you're just looking for a way to volunteer and give back to the community, they do a lot of work around various public, community events, that kind of a thing, and help serve the community with various public safety needs. So it's just a really great way to give back to the community.
Reserves do a great job out at Maple Grove Days. You'll get a prime parking spot at Maple Grove Days, but then you might have to stand next to your car the whole event, right? So you may not see everything, but great way to help out. Let's talk about the Emerald Ash Borer time of the year, where the city, I know, is taking a look at this. It's all throughout the year. What is the point of emphasis right now? Yeah,
so the winter is really a great time for residents to be viewing possible infestation of the Emerald Ash Borer. And then the treatment options and preventative applications really should be done during the late spring and then throughout the summer months. So the winter time when the leaves are down and there's some things that you can kind of see, any type of woodpecker damage, vertical cracks or splits in the bark, D-shaped exit holes in the bark. Those are the kinds of things that are easy to see kind of in the stark winter landscape, and so we encourage folks to get out and take a peek at their ash trees, and then as they move into the spring and summer, they can be ready to think about whether they want to pursue treatment, if thinking about that removal and replacement piece. And we have a lot of information available on our website about our EAB program. So we really encourage people to kind of get out and take a look this time of year.
Engineering department is the key in working with that, and so they've got numbers. You can contact them as well if you don't see the question right there answered. Let's talk about ice rinks in the city of Maple Grove. How is it going for the skaters out there?
Well, winter seems to be hanging on in a big way. We just can't quite break this cold weather. So if you're an ice skater, that's wonderful, because our outdoor rinks have really hung in there. Usually by this time of the year, with the sun getting a little bit higher and whatnot, we start to lose lose them. But we've been doing good so far, and Central Park has been doing well as well. So take advantage of these temps and get out and enjoy what's left. I think I've heard in the 10-day forecast, I'm hearing 40. So
Okay.
I think we're going to make a break for it. But
It may be near the end soon.
soon, yes.
Here's another one to get you thinking way into summer and maybe into fall. If you're looking for some places to have maybe events in the city of Maple Grove, you can help people out. Tell us how.
Yeah, so we've implemented an online reservation system for our picnic pavilions and spaces, and so all that information is available on the website. So this is the Eagle Lake Building, the Pheno Pavilion at Central Park, and then indoor and outdoor amenities that are available there as well. So just a nice way to do it. I think previously you've had to call and talk to somebody,
Right.
and so we're just trying to kind of up that customer service there and make it a little bit more convenient for folks.
Streamlined process. And another streamlined process is what happens with the Park and Rec, and they've got a lot of activities coming up, and that is online as well.
Yeah, so registration is open for spring offerings for Maple Grove Park and Recreation. You can sign up online. The activity guide is on your website, and then those also, of course, get mailed out to your home, so you have the hard copy there. But a lot of good offerings for the spring coming up.
All right, here comes the time you need your calendar, so we're going to rattle through a number of things coming up at the community center. But before we do that, let's just talk about Patty Anderson real quick, because she has been a key to Park and Rec in the area here, and tell us about Patty's future.
Yeah, so Patty's been with the city, another long-serving employee, about 31 years, administrative supervisor over at the community center, and so Patty is retiring from the city. I don't think she's retiring completely.
Right.
She's going to be exploring some new opportunities, but we're really thankful for Patty's service to the community. I think you can look around at the various facilities and programs and kind of see Patty's fingerprints on all of those things. And so Friday afternoon, this coming Friday afternoon, we're going to be having a celebration over at the community center from 3 to 4:30 in the afternoon. Program at 3:30, just to recognize Patty's service and thank her for her time spent here, and wish her all the best in her next chapter.
We've had many chances to interview her, and she is a wonderful person. All right, get the calendars out. Here we go. If you're interested in crafts, craft show coming up on Saturday, the 24th of February, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And who is this put on by and where?
Yeah, so this is Katie Beth Craft and Gift Shows, and this is Saturday, February 24th, so coming up here quick. 9 to 3 at the community center, and I guess this is kind of one of our first shows of the season, so kind of an early look here at the end of February.
All right, more to come in just a second, but let's talk about the community center. Obviously a place to go to get involved in activities, but a place now to go for this event to go and talk about the future of parks. Tell us why people should come.
Yeah, so as a part of our comprehensive plan update process, which really kind of defines the future land use of the city, one of the components of that, of course, is our park system plan.
Right.
So we've been in the process of updating that in, in the same time that we've been looking at the broader comprehensive plan issues. So they're having an open house on Thursday, March 1st from 5:30 to 7:30 to kind of talk about what came out of that whole study and that community engagement process for the park system plan, and then set some priorities about what's important over the next 10 years as we look ahead for reinvestment in our park system. So opportunity for the public to come out and hear about those recommendations and then provide some input to that process as well.
All right. Early March, again, a lot happening at the community center. Let's move ahead to Friday the 2nd. The Lions will be in action.
Yeah, very next night. The community center is the site for the Lions Beer and Wine Tasting event. This is kind of our first annual event. Friday, March 2nd. So there'll be craft beer, wine, spirits, and then light appetizers, live music, and of course a raffle as well. You can buy tickets online at maplegrovelions.org. I know you can also get tickets at the door. So I think it's around $25, $30 to get in. Yep.
So if you spend part of Friday there, why not stay and spend a little of Saturday there? Craft show number 2, tell us about that.
So Saturday, March 3rd brings a carousel craft show to the community center. The event is inside from 9:30 to 4, and that one has a wide variety of crafters and artisans, and of course that event's free to the public.
Good.
Yep.
And we've got one date now, March 8th, where you can go and attend 2 events at the same time. Tell us what's happening on the 8th.
Yes, so Cross Services hosts the Empty Bowls event. This is Thursday, March 8th. 3 to 7:30. Enjoy a bowl of soup and bread, and then they do have all the handcrafted bowls that are available for purchase, and this is really a fundraiser for cross services. At the same time, the indoor farmers market will be happening. That is that afternoon as well from 3 to 6, and so of course during our winter markets we have about 20 plus vendors that are there with some winter products, still some produce items that are available as well. So encourage people to come out and enjoy both events.
And this is a neat way of showing that the community center is not only for city events, but again, can be rented out and used by other groups for activities like this. And also this one, the final one we'll mention, a wedding fair.
Yeah, that's Saturday, March 10th.
All
So
right.
this is from 11 to 3. The theme of it this year is Love is in the Air Wedding Fair, and then admission is free. And they are anticipating about 40 vendors that will be there that day, and they also have a fashion show with a variety of wedding attire. So fun event on March 10th.
Everything you need to be at is at the community center, it sounds like, within the next 3 or 4 weeks. Heidi, thank you very much for the information, your time today. Let's leave you with some information of the next meeting for the council and also some contact information. You see the website in the middle of the screen. Again, we mentioned a lot of things happening there and information you can find. Go to maplegrovemn.gov to find out more. Next meeting is on Monday, March 5th, 7:30 at the Government Center. Phone number at the bottom of the screen. And our phone number for your viewer response is 763-533-1710. For Heidi Nelson, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks again for joining us.